Dear colleague, my name is Dr. Boris Farber, and my presentation is Conceptual Thinking, Future of Online Education, Bridging Academia, Industry and TRIZ, the path to a successful scientific career for professors and students. In this presentation, I use two previous presentations, International Congress in Education, and my presentation and World Congress in Education in Cambridge, United Kingdom. I represent a set of companies. All my companies, research and development companies, and only one of them is education. In this education company, we prepare students to be smart, and the best of them work in my research and development companies. All of them, almost all of them, United States-based companies. The learning process has changed very little over thousands of years. The technology of education process has changed just a little bit. And starting from Stone Age to ceramic, you see my cursor, I believe, yes, to papyrus, paper, and computers. But behind the scene, technology almost every time the same. Nothing changed. In addition, students who study, they don't have idea how to prepare for classes. For instance, if you buy a box of pasta, you have instruction how to cook plain pasta in the Instant Pot. Whole instruction on the back. But people study in school, university, etc., more than 20 years, and there is no instruction how to study. And very important is a method of studying. What method do you choose for teaching and studying? Friction of sticks or laser? It's up to you. When I analyzed many years ago all the situation and study classics like Jan Omas Kamensky, who is father of class lesson system, didactics, and he is the father of modern education, and continue different sources like my colleague Dr. Shatalov. I have been working with him all my life. He created new method. And Uchtomsky, great philosopher. And I start to analyze what to do to improve level of education. According to Uchtomsky, he is the author of Paradigm Dominant. According to his paradigm, you do not enter into disputes and debates because if a dominant has formed, it cannot be overcome by words and beliefs if you only feed and be reinforced by them. So in this particular case, many great philosophers emphasize that study without desire spoils the memory, and it retains nothing that it takes in. Leonardo da Vinci. Or Goethe, he said, you can only learn what you love. But if, according to this paradigm, if student does not like studying, for instance, you can't persuade him to study unless you propose something new. And there is nothing worse than boring classes. I study many philosophers for this case. For instance, Lev Vygotsky, who created a new paradigm as well in education. And he emphasized that learning is more than acquisition of the ability to think. It is acquisition of many specialized abilities for thinking about a variety of things. He created a theory of ZPD, zone of proximal development. The distance between where learner and developmentary on their own is where a learner could be with the help of more knowledgeable other. For instance, in next slide, you see his paradigm, ZPD, and in one circle, you can learn by your own. In this oval, you can learn with help somebody else. And this one, the third one, is beyond of my reach. We're supposed to do something with this. And he created this spiral, which emphasizes the same idea. And briefly, he explained how instruction influences conceptual development in his theory. He emphasized that very important is a conceptual thinking. Practically nobody teach conceptual thinking. And he said it only occurs in iteration with adults. Without special simulation, conceptual thinking does not develop. This is extremely important. I studied his followers, and everybody emphasized that high level of development of conceptual abilities acts a link between cognitive and creative abilities. In addition, he said that if you don't use scientific data, you cannot develop conceptual thinking. One of his followers, Dr. Yazykova, she made a lot of experiments and proved that less than 20% of people can think conceptually. Why? Because nobody teaches conceptual thinking. If you compare with TRIZ these ideas, in TRIZ, you know, we have 5 levels of inventions. To create level 1, you're not supposed to be too smart. And this is about 70% of all these inventions. But if we're talking about top level invention, it's, look at this, 5th level is 0.06%, almost nothing. Why? Because people did not develop this conceptual thinking. You can check, even if you add these 3, third, 4th, and 5th, it would be around 20-something%. So conceptual thinking is extremely important part which nobody teach. And for teaching, I represent here some layers of pyramid where education based, from my perspective, on TRIZ, cybernetics, AI, pedagogy, psychology, psychological inertia, ergonomics, biomechanics, math, science, linguistics, etc., etc. In this particular case, many students, not only students, but in different level, they get usually extremely small part of knowledge, tip of this iceberg, about methodology of teaching conceptual thinking. They don't have any professional education, and they teach. In order to teach beneath this water, you see, you have to have strong foundation of conceptual thinking development. based on system, including pedagogy, psychology, system evolution, theory of inventive problem solving, strong education in deep knowledge in different fields, PhDs and doctor science level. And definitely interdisciplinary field based on science. Without science, you will not develop the skill. That's why, for instance, Lord Chesterfield, he emphasized the young, leading the young is like the blind leading the blind. They will both fall into the ditch. In this particular case, I observe many cases with kids who, or teachers or students who hardly know basic of the subject, they teach other kids. As a result, according to our experiment, conceptual thinking, we have less than 7% of many people. And we have many slides related to conceptual thinking, what we're doing many times. Okay, I skip because lack of time. We have many slides here. And conceptual thinking is developing according to this timeline with experience and aging. There is like joke, anybody can treat and teach like proverb, but carrying suitcase require talent. People think that without special preparation, they can treat and teach. And this I make this slide where kid, he visited dentist. And after that, he thinks he is a dentist with this hammer. Kid who went to school think that this kid, she's girl, right? Girl, I believe. She can easily teach. Why not? Remember this picture with tip of the iceberg? Zero knowledge, zero preparation. And this poor kid, they will get even worse education. Instead of developing conceptual thinking, many parents and teachers who are not professional at all, nothing personal, but they make their kids busy. For instance, they teach fast mental math and very excited about this, or play chess. I personally knew few world champion in chess, like Botvinnik, Karpov, world champion. And they are really bright, but they are really bright only in this chess. They only know how to move chess, nothing else. The strongest mathematician among of them was Mikhail Botvinnik, world champion. I was in his team. But he was very strong. He created the first program, Kaisa, like AI for playing chess. But in science, he did not develop anything very serious. Nobody, because now in order to achieve something, you have to concentrate. My point, this is not bad activity, but this not what kids need. They go beyond, they go out of their goal to be smart. Who need this counting fast like robots using this finger? This is my deep persuasion in this case. So in childhood, I set a goal. I get a birthday present from parents about Da Vinci. And I set a goal to study all this, his field where he studied. Nobody can accomplish, nobody can approach to his star. This is like ideal final result in TRIZ. I believe many of you know TRIZ, right? But this would be like direction where you have to move. I have studied his legacy. This is his house where he was born in Italy, in Vinci. I visited many times of this. And try to get knowledge in all his fields. I built Ishikawa diagram of knowledge synergy, all this knowledge where he worked, and all his scientific and invention projects. After that, I created schedule, and I get education practically in all this field, plus education in nowadays. So I'm TRIZ master, and for now, it helped me a lot. My concept was if you have diverse education, you can solve a lot of different problems between different areas. Again, nobody can approach to Da Vinci. It's not a question, but it helps you to get impact on your activities and accomplish a lot. So in addition to my scientific fields, I worked 49 years in teaching for my scientific corporation, including 18 years teaching in online. I got many diplomas in this case, in different fields. And it's helping to work between different fields because it shows you conceptual thinking approach. So this is our expertise. And in childhood, it was very important. I was involved in theory of inventive problem solving. So I wrote a letter. My parents recommended to do this because they knew Heinrich Schuller, TRIZ creator. And I like his ideas. I became more and more interested in the mechanism of creativity. I know his famous book, Creativity is Exact Science. What can be more alluring than the discovery of the nature of talented through and converting this thinking from occasional and fleeting flashes into powerful and controllable fire of knowledge? This is his idea. So if kids want to get some career, they have to find a mentor. I was lucky. I found mentor in 10 years when I was 10 years old. And I have 7 big binders for letters from Heinrich Schuller. And this is one more time when I visited in his house, we together with Heinrich Schuller. And it changed my life tremendously. So for future generation, my suggestion also try to do this, because you can get knowledge from kids who are in your grade or in your high school. They even don't have bachelors. It would be blind leading the blind. So based on this, I decided created a new method. After studying, we created a method of images based on different fields. And some pillars of this approach is, in pedagogy, we have different aspects of direct analysis, part of the whole, generalization, etc., but it does not work. When we solve thousands and thousands different problems, we created a system which help us to apply conceptual thinking to solving problems. And this method was developed 49 years ago. We practice with online. I created a team. This is my team. And this is part of this method of images. On all our walls in all these houses, we had these pictures. This is Dr. Farber, myself, my colleagues. This is Institute of Nuclear Research, all doctors, right? And I get a patent in one of these using color analogy for method of images. Many years ago, it was in Soviet Union at that time. And we implemented, we created a special kind of calculator with applied these ideas. For creating this method, I use all instruments of TRIZ, including this 40 principle of problem solving. I put red mark, some example for some of our projects we use tremendously. But it's not only this, not only principle, we use all arsenal of TRIZ for this. And by analogy with these 40 principles, we created a principle of solving problems. And success is briefly, very briefly, in education built on few blocks here: interest, method of images, and discipline. Discipline, very important. You have to make people motivated. And definitely behind the scene, we use a lot of science. Every lesson behind the scene, we use example from my patents. Officially I have 230 patents, not officially more than 1,000 where I participate and created this being post, right? And this is one of example. For each of these, we solve problem not like in school, but we know what is combination 4, factorization 5, etc., etc. And for instance, in university, we just speak how to solve problem, we not solve problem. This decomposition works tremendously nicely. We improve this method. It works in any situation. We name it understandable for kids method, the dragon, or dragon with 2 heads, absolute value this approach, or colobok. Maybe you know this, United States, we have gingerbread man. Okay, it helps a lot of solving if I'm talking about kids. If you're talking about university, for instance, branching graph for molecular physics also use this idea, this factorization. And definitely we developed discipline. We found a way how to do this, and they exercise a lot using, we name it brain muscle in this case. So very important to maintain information, because according to psychology, in 2 weeks after lecture, if you don't repeat, you're losing up to 60% of information. You have to maintain it somehow. So we study, develop our methods, we use fast feedback, instantly student get idea, and definitely everywhere we use conceptual thinking. According to we have a TRIZ law, the law of displacement of man from technical system. We understand in future part of system education will be improved such a way that there is no any need to use man, part of this, but not whole impossible. Okay, like this one. And experiment with this method and teaching experience show tremendous benefit of this is flexibility. I explained this, accessibility, cost effective when you teach using this modern approach, especially online. Online, we have been teaching for 18 years officially. Before I taught group in Vatican, it was more than 18 years ago. And we can predict the future would be for online learning. Not necessarily everybody share this concept right now, but I want to explain this. And for now, remember this slide where I have different explain like stone or ceramics or papyrus, etc. Everywhere we use the same method. So only materials practically and data knowledge changes, but method is the same. Teacher prepare, students prepare without any recipes, etc. But many cases we have obstacle, which is psychological inertia. And you know this example, that the first steam engine with horse legs, or this example, Henry Saudovich explained this fantastic photonic superstar ship, 27th century, broken like regular car, psychological inertia. Another great example, since people without systematic improvement, conceptual thinking, for instance, even king of invention, Thomas Alva Edison, he actually created phonograph. He also created cinematograph. but he was so mechanism oriented that he looked inside of this box. Why? Because conceptual, he was a genius, but without developing this conceptual thinking, psychological inertia make a lot of obstacles. And you know from history that Louis Jean Lemure, what he did, he bought this device from Edison and put it on the screen on white fabric. And he actually uses the same invention, only not inside of mechanism. He is author of cinematograph. This example tremendously shows the importance of development conceptual thinking. Another example, three scientists, John Bardeen, William Shockley, and Walter Breighton in 1956, United States. They won Nobel Prize in Physics in Bell Lab, and they created the first transistor. Quality was not good, just 5% of quality were good, and 95% were not good for using. In 1953, Masaru Ibuka and Akio Morita from Sony Corporation, they bought a license just for $25,000. Why? Why so cheap? Because quality was very bad. In their lab, they improve quality, make it 95% instead of 5%. And now, if you see this graph, semiconductor industry approaching to trillions. They recognize this ugly duckling in this device. And now everywhere we have these transistors. If you're talking about teaching education online, people think this is not good enough yet, but they don't recognize this ugly duckling yet. Even in data from 2005, if you look at this graph, this is in-person result, okay? And distance learning we have, and extramural learning. So they approaching to study in auditorium, result of studying. So I use difference from different sources, sorry, different languages here. And professor of California, Dr. Schuttle, in 2001, he made experiment. And he showed that, he showed that 20% average result for people who study online were higher than their classmate from a regular face-to-face group. So I make analogy with transistor. So we have extremely strong method, but people did not recognize it yet. So since I have many majors, I have few PhDs. One of them is biomechanics. I created my magazine in biomechanics, published many books in this case. In biomechanics, we study method of decomposition. And decomposition, when we study, for instance, movement, and this is stick diagram, and we make decomposition of thinking, you can understand. And what did Nikolai Bernstein, who was author of cybernetics? He created cybernetics 20 years before Wiener. He found a way how to improve gait, and he helped in the time famous French sprinter. His name was Ledumic. And the composition helped you to show everything inside. And this his work of Nikolai Bernstein. I studied this. And I studied another guy who is, name is Alexei Gastyev. He studied cyclograms and make the composition to improve efficiency of workers who work in the factories. So what I did, I applied this method of decomposition for solving problems. There's some examples here for different cases. Not only for solving problems. but also for AI. I have been working in AI for many years, and especially in biomechanics and orthopedics, and apply for teaching online, because online you have opportunity to get very fast feedback, and this is very important. Feedback from students during solving problems. Very important was also improve learning efficacy, because in online students have temptation not to listen. They do something, but not in my class. I use this idea of Edison, where he was tested when he walked in the road. He's supposed to call every 15 minutes and said, "I'm not sleepy." So randomly, every few seconds, my students supposed to raise hand. They have arranged 2 seconds to answer these questions. And I developed this, according to these psychological tests, we develop 100% accuracy of listening. So this is some, we study take in consideration different psychotypes of students, which is important to customize our lecture. And I have some expression that online education will destroy people who can't teach, because teaching online much more complicated in this case. If you can teach in classroom, you can teach online for sure. Cannot. That's why people have impression that online not good. No, online is future. And general industry tremendously increasing in teaching online. And this revenue for this in future would be trillions and trillions, because this is future. Only you have to know how to use it. It's a different economical results here. I'm looking for my time, right? And for sure, this is example. Since I have been teaching online 18 plus and 49 years in a classroom, and I have the same test, and this is green line, blue line is teaching in a classroom, and this reddish line is teaching online. At the beginning, yes, it was a little bit better when we started, but for now we have big gap between our results. How we know? We have program SAS, like everybody who use statistics use it program, and statistically we measure results for all our students and compare. We have big database for 49 years for this. And even now it shows tremendous result, but you have to know method and you have to know how to teach. Many online animation based on education based on animation. I believe this is not good idea at all. So animation can help, could be like complementary method, not the best, not the main method. Because first of all, you have to have strong teacher, a real professional. AI cannot teach. Level of AI for today for teaching, my estimation is 4th, 5th grade, not more. And it can substitute it. Never it will substitute professor. But like supplementary materials animation is not bad. Only like supplementary, not instead. If you want to develop your concept, conceptual thinking. If not, no problem. We got this description, how our expertise in education. And this method I implement not only in my center for teaching, but I teach all over the board in different countries, right? And everywhere I have been teaching using this method of images. Not necessarily I explain how it works, but people feel results. I give example. One of our students, he graduated from Cornell 3 months ago. Nice kid. He came to us in 7th grade, sorry, and he got to the best school of United States and get scholarship every year. He come to us. We help to get scholarship, and overall he got more than 500,000 scholarship right now. It's real because we have method and he has concept and his future is bright. Few words about our AI experience. We have created the first in the world program for prosthetic and aesthetics. We name it Expert System, which have developed using base knowledge of the best professional. We created this program. It developed opportunity for doctors to choose nice prosthetic and orthotics for lower limb, for upper limbs, for spinal, etc. And after that, it was written on Lisp, if you remember this language, many years ago. After that, we use shell, modify it for education. So AI is great, but it's only like supplementary. We publish few articles of this, and definitely our focus not only to get knowledge, but also maintain. If you look at this Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, you see that the econ physiology, we're supposed to forget to clean our memory. This is good for brain, but not good for your results. So we study how to maintain level of knowledge using not only our results. This is important for different ages. And definitely how to overcome psychological inertia. This is very important because it improves your conceptual thinking. Plus, in this particular case, I already demonstrated this. Result was 20% higher when you study online. We make our students strong. They don't afraid. We explain how to overcome this fearness in different cases. And definitely after this, students supposed to go to the best universities. I started here from MIT, but in the United States, we have great universities like Cornell, Berkeley, Harvard, etc. So, but now competition is huge. One of example in New York Post, some people charging a lot of money for hour for preparation to get to this school. When we make the composition, analyze all this stuff, and this requirement to get the top level universities, and we explain our students two point of view of students and point of view admission office, and created planetary model, what we're supposed to do from college viewpoint and from point of view of applicant. And to get to nice college, nice academic is not enough, because every kid is smart. I'm absolutely positive in this. And everybody has nice GPA, all these results, but he has to be different. And we give them opportunity using our research and development companies to take internship. And in these companies, we teach them a lot of stuff based on this diagram. And they take an internship in our academy. There's few examples. We have offices with doctors where we give them topic, and we teach basic of TRIZ, give them idea. And after that, we have a lot of, I know your institute is based on engineering from nice talking with Jason, right? I believe. And I just give you an example. The first myoelectric hand in the world was created institute. After that, we sold licenses to all these countries of the world, right? The first. So that's why our student had opportunity to work in bioengineering. It's not only upper lip prosthetics, it's also lower limbs. This by my patents, all of them. They participate in strong mathematical modeling, differential equation, all this stuff, right? That we have, for instance, Lagrangian. But not only this, we use mathematical modeling for cell, for docking design, etc., silicon modeling. They participate. We created some devices for space. All these devices, they also can get some topics. And I provide them some information which we use in developing different congresses. For instance, 500 years of Da Vinci. I made presentation in Italy, and all these devices, we have patents. Not this one, our devices. This, for instance, magnetic liquid, very perspective, new kind of cars, etc. For each of them, we have students who could participate and make this project. And in addition, many of them have experience in medical drug. For instance, gamma biodegradable hemostatic device. And this one of our students who successfully took SAT prep, he took this project. Another student use monoclonal antibodies and epitope-based vaccine designed to treat MS, etc. For instance, ferrofluid and prospective application from standard point of law of technical evolution in trees, etc. I have tons of examples. I just put some of them, or screen regeneration. We created new kind of stem cells for this. So practically all the research is our patents, for instance. This is our some articles, some patents we're getting. We have tons of them also. And many of these concepts I discussed personally with Genrich Saulowich Altshuler. And I want to just tell you that if you want to be younger and healthy, study and teach. Why? Because Henry Ford, I like his expression, anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. And I like this. In addition, the best investment you can make is investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you earn. It's not necessarily a direct variation, but this is great. And we almost finish. And the last one is optimistic vision of teaching based on method of images and developing conceptual thinking. And finally, Q&A. I make a joke here. Sorry, no one had any questions after your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for attention. I believe I did on time everything, right? Yes.
Thank you so much for your fantastic presentation. I would like to see if there are any questions from our audience. Thank you, Farber.
Thank you.
Борис, можно я задам вопрос на русском?
Yes.
Спасибо. Я работаю в российской системе образования, и сейчас вся российская система образования построена на концепции Выгодского. Это развитие и результат развития.
Если можно, ближе, еле-еле слышу, если можно ближе.
Если мы обучаем в этой системе ТРИЗ, то результат должен быть развитие личностных свойств. То есть тогда это и есть результат. То есть каким станет человек в результате развития его психических процессов. Вот насколько он будет развит. Как вы считаете, это может быть результатом ТРИЗ?
Если, еще раз, я тут поставлю сейчас на максимум. Да, пожалуйста, еще попробуйте еще раз, извините.
Тогда сейчас переведут на английский и...
Я хорошо на английском, просто я не слышу, звук не проходит, немножко квакающий звук такой.
Российская система образования построена на концепции Выгодского. Основная ее идея – это достичь высокого уровня развития психических процессов. если мы встраиваемся в эту систему образования, то тогда результатом развития, ну, результатом обучения ТРИЗ должна быть личность с хорошо развитым, более высоко, да, чем обычная система дает этот результат, более высоко развитыми психическими процессами. Как вы думаете, может это быть результатом ТРИЗ образования?
Да, это может быть. Только на единственное, что я бы добавил, что это комплексное, как бы много факторов должны здесь участвовать, и это действительно может быть вот то, что вы сказали.
Спасибо большое.
Из многих психологов я особенно уделяю внимание, там же Элькоин и много его продолжителей были, да, вот. Вот, но вот он какой такой, мне нравится, импонирует его подходы, которым он, не так много он педагогикой занимался, но он был великолепным, конечно, мыслителем.
Да, это самое последнее достижение в психологии. Спасибо.
Пожалуйста. Any more questions?
More questions? Do you have? Maybe. Isaac? No? Okay. Thank you so much, Farber, for your time and your presentation. I believe you hear the
Thank you for opportunity for
From the-
participating in this great congress. Thank you.
I'd like to show that you can see this is a certificate for you. I believe you can see it, right?
Say it again.
We have a certificate for you for your speech, right? So that we ask Isaac to bring back to you, right? Okay. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Good luck.
Yeah. Good luck. Thank you.
Ну, это